Great day, learners. It's me again, Miss Bethel. Since you've already mastered expanding, summation notation, be it simple or double, also knowing the different positions of the values, plus specifying the values, I think you are already ready in answering these different notations, given the same data set. So now, given the same data set 1, we are trying, or we will be trying, no, we're not going to try, we'll do it. Okay. So this is doable. So we are going to get the summation of xi1 as I goes from 1 to 3. Pag nakita natin yung summation na ito, automatically dapat natin isipin na, okay, this is the formula of the term xi1. Ang I natin ay summation index. Tapos, nagre-range siya sa first hanggang third row. So, ito po ay row at ito naman po ay column. So, constant po yung column natin. Dapat, nakasaad na agad na dapat sa column 1 lang tayo kukuha ng values. At ang column 1 ay yung nasa column A. So, column 1 is A, column 2 is B, column 3 is C, column 4 is D, and column 5 is E. Okay? Sa row naman, meron po tayong 6 na rows. So, first row, second row, third row, fourth row, fifth row, at saka yung last, yung sixth row. So again, limited lang po tayo sa column 1. Sa A lang po. Dun lang daw po tayo kukuha ng values. Tignan naman natin ngayon yung rows. Okay? Sa rows naman, sinasaad dito na dapat first 3 rows lang. So, first, second, third. At dahil column 1 lang, ibig sabihin, ang values na ating gagamitin ay 4, 9, at 7 lamang. Okay, here's the next. So, we learned na itong 4, 9, at 7 lamang po ang ating pwedeng gamitin. So, now, what we need to do is, of course, know the positions. Since it's xi1, so we need to plug in the values of I, which is 1, 2, and 3. So, x1, 1, x2, 1, and x3, 1. Remember, ang proper po na way ng pagbasa nito ay x row 1, column 1, x row 2, column 1, at x row 3, column 1. Alam natin na yung row 1, column 1 ay 4, kaya dito natin siya pa-plug in. Yung row 2, column 1 ay 9, kaya 9 dito, at saka row 3, ito po, 3, 1, row 3, column 1 ay 7. So 4 plus 9, 13 plus 7, it's 20. So the summation of xi1 as I goes from 1 to 3 is 20. Subukan naman po natin kunin ang summation of x1i. It makes a difference. Iba po yun, di ba? Dito po, I po natin ay row. But in this scenario here, our row is only limited to 1. It only means that we need to get the value coming from the row 1. Kaya ang gagamitin lang po nating values ay lahat po dapat nasa row 1 lamang. So in order to interpret this, we need to, of course, expand the summation notation. So x11, again, this is row 1, column 1, row 1, column 2, at saka row 1, column 3. Kasi, you notice that 1, our row is only fixed to 1, at saka yung I natin, which is our column, ranges from the first value up to the third value. So ito po yun, row 1, ang first value ay A, nasa A, ang second value ng ating column. So, nasa B, so second column, at saka yung third value ay C, which is the third column. So, x11, x12, and x13. So, 4 plus 5, that's 9, plus 2, that's 11. So, summation of x1i as I goes from 1 to 3 is equal to 11. Notice po, no, it really makes a difference. Kasi po kanina, ang I po natin, again po, arbitrary value lang po ito, ano? Pwede nating pagpalitin. Pwede B dito, C, hanggang anong letter N yung gamitin mo, okay lang yan. As long as you understood the whole concept. So, yun po, yung I po natin dito ay row. Pero sa pangalawang given po natin, ang I po natin ay column. At dahil ang I po natin dito ay column, kaya po ang gagamitin po natin values ay yung 4, 5, at saka 2. Try to visualize po kung ano po yung mga pinagsasabi ko. So, ito po yun. So, pag sinabi po natin summation of xi1 as I goes from 1 to 3, yung I po natin ay rows, ito po yung mga values na yun. So, ito pong rectangular dashed. But then, yung summation of x1i in which I goes from 1 to 3, ito po yung values, yung 4, 5, at 2. Bali, ano po siya? From side to side at saka from up to down. Okay? Kasi po, ang tinutukoy po natin dito ay yung values ng row 1 na columns 1 to 3. Yun po to. Pero ang tinutukoy po natin dito ay ang values ng 1, 2, at 3 na rows, pero isang column lang po, which is 1. So, meron po tayo ditong dash rectangle at dotted rectangle. So, I hope po na mas naintindihan natin yung kaibahan. Pagka I po yung ginamit natin sa row at saka pagka I naman po yung ginamit natin for the column. So, wag po sana tayong malito. So, another example is this. So, given the same data set, so we are going to find the summation of xij as I goes from 1 to 3 and j goes from 2 to 4. Tapos, yung sa kabila naman po ay iba naman po yung ginamit natin na summation index para sa row at ibang summation index for the column. Pinagpalit lang po natin ang I at saka j. Dito naman po, yung I po ay 1 to 3 at saka yung j po natin ay from 2 to 4. So, let's try to solve for this one po. So, summation of xij as I goes from 1 to 3 at saka j goes from 2 to 4. So, ito po ay ating row. Alam po natin na ang row natin, ang gagamitin ay row 1, row 2, at row 3. So, kailangan din po nating alamin kung ano po ba yung gagamitin natin na data sets for our column. So, it says po na 2 to 4. So, ito po yung column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4. Sinasabi dito ay 2 to 4. Kaya ito po yun. Row 1, row 2, row 3 na 2 or second column. Row 1, row 2, row 3 na third column. Row 1, row 2, row 3 na fourth column. So, ito po yung mga data sets na ito ang ating gagamitin para makuha yung summation ng xij. So, ano po ba yung ating, so let's try to expand the double summation. So, in here po, we started by accessing first the answer for the left-hand side. So, nasabi ng left hand ng row natin na 1, 2, 3. Kaya po meron po tayong summation of x1j. We just plug in the values of I. So, x1j as j goes from 2 to 4. We just copied this. Tapos, summation of x2j as j goes from 2 to 4. At saka yung panghuli ay summation ng x3j as j goes from 2 to 4. So, notice po na yung ating pong row 1 ay consist po ng tatlong column. So, 1, 2, 3. Kaya po, x, row 1, column 2. Ito po yun. X, row 1, column 3. Tsaka x, row 1, column 4. Ito po yung sa row 1. Sa row 2 naman po, bali itong summation na to ay ating expand. So, we are going to expand the summation at ito po yung sagot. So, summation of x2j as j goes from 2 to 4 is, the expanded form is x row 2, column 2. Ito po yung 8. X row 2, column 3. At saka x row 2, column 4. Yung last po na summation natin is summation of x3. So, third row as j goes from 2 to 4. So, summation of first value is x row 3, column 2, x row 3, column 3, at saka x row 3, column 4. So, we know the positions. Now, let's locate the values in each position. Row 1, column 2 ay 5, kaya 5 here. Row 1, column 3 is 2, kaya we have 2 here. Row 1, column 4 is 11, kaya we have 11 here. So, for the row 2 sets, row 2, column 2 is 8. That's why we have this one. Row 2, column 3 is 3. So, plus 3. And row 2, column 4 is 15. So, we have 15 here. Then, the last row is third row. And columns 2 to 4. So, 10, 1, at saka 18. Having this different locations or positions. So, 5 plus 2 plus 11 is equal to 18. 8 plus 3 plus 15 is equal to 26. Tsaka 10 plus 1 plus 18 is equal to 29. So, 18 plus 26 plus 29 is equal to 73. So, bali, itong summation po ng values ng xij as I goes from 1 to 3 and j goes from 2 to 4 is equal to 73. So let's try to solve naman po a different notation. Solving for this summation notation, still we will be using the same data set. So summation of xji as I goes from 1 to 3 and j goes from 2 to 4. So now let's try solving this unique summation notation. So this is kind of catchy because you would notice that the placement here in the summation notation, you would notice here po, ano, summation of xji. But here, as I goes from 1 to 3 at saka j goes from 2 to 4, eh ma'am, bakit po dito sa formula of the term, nauna po yung j kaysa I? Ibig sabihin po, ang j ay row at saka yung I ay column. Pero dito po, nauna pong isulat yung summation index na I, which is 1 to 3, at saka yung summation index na j, which is 2 to 4. Ano po ba yung dapat namin i-follow? Di ba po? Sa previous learning videos ko, hindi ibig sabihin na pagka nauna siyang isinulat dito, yung I at saka J, ibig sabihin yun na din yung values dito. Order, other. So, ang ipa-follow po nating order ay yung order na nasa formula of the term. Sabi po ng formula of the term, J po yung rows at saka I po yung columns. So, ang J po, ano po ba yung range ng values? 2 to 4. So, row 2, row 3, at saka yung row 4. Dito lang daw po natin kukunin ang data sets. At saka yung I naman ay 1, 2, 3. Columns 1, 2, and 3. Please po, wag po tayong malito. Gaya po ng example na ito. Kasi dito, again, nauna yung J kaysa I. So, ang J ang row. Yung I yung column. Pero nung pagkasulat ng summation index, doon mismo sa baba ng sigma sign, nauna po yung I. Kahit po nauna yung I, hindi po ibig sabihin na yung I po yung row. Yung J pa rin po ang row. At saka yung I pa rin po yung column. So, pangpagulo lang po ito, ano? Catchy po yung summation notation natin. Pero wag po tayong ma-confuse. Ang ating pong pagbabasihan ay ang formula of the term. At ang sabi ng formula of the term, summation of x, j, I. Yun po ang ating ipa-follow. So, i-compute na po natin ito. So, again po, ito po yung mga values ng dataset na isasalin natin sa ating summation notation. Ang sabi dito ay 2 to 4 na rows, kaya atin munang i-expand ang ating summation. So, 1, 2, 3, and 2 to 4. Ang sabi dito ay ang rows ay 2 to 4. Okay? So, ang row po dito ay J at saka 4. Pero pwede natin pong, kasi nagsistart po tayo sa left-hand side, so atin pong i-extract muna ang columns. So, ang sabi ng column ay I. So, yun po yung summation index. Plug in lang po natin yung mga values. So, summation of xji as I goes from 1 to 3. Okay, yung column po natin ay 1. So, summation of xj1 as j goes from 2 to 4. Summation of xj2 as j goes from 2 to 4. Tsaka summation ng xj3 as 3 goes from 2 to 4. Now, we're going to expand each of the notation kasi these notations are more familiar with us. So, we know that the rows ranges from 2 to 4. So, ayun po. 2, x row 2, column 1, x row 3, column 1, at saka x row 4, column 1. Ito po yun. Row 2, column 1, row 3, column 1, at saka row 4, column 1. For the second notation po, ito naman po yung expanded form niya. X row 2, column 2, x row 3, column 2, at saka x row 4, column 2 again. And then the last notation is xj3 as j goes from 2 to 4. So, x row 2, column 3, x row 3, column 3, at saka x row 4, column 3. Now, we know the locations. We try to plug in the specific or specify the values. So, row 2, column 1 is 9. So, it's 9 here. Row 3, column 1 is 8. So, row 3, column 1 is 7. So, we have 7 here. Row 4, column 1 is 8. So, we have 8 here. So, 9 plus 7 plus 8 is equal to 24. X row 2, column 2, we have here 8. X row 3, column 2, we have 10. This is the 10. X row 4, column 2, we have 17, so this is 17. 8 plus 10 plus 17 is equals to 35. The last set is X row 2, column 3, which is 3. X row 3, column 3, which is 1. And X row 4, column 3, which is 6. 3 plus 1 plus 6 is equals to 10. So 24 plus 25 plus 10 is equals to 69. So the answer for the double summation of xji as I goes from 1 to 3 and j goes from 2 to 4 is equals to 69. So yan po yung difference. Okay? So yung first equation po natin or first summation po natin nagsasaad na xij. I goes from 1 to 3. J goes from 2 to 4. Ito po yun, yung mga rectangular dashes. Okay? At saka yung sagot po dito ay 73. While yung summation of xji as I goes from 1 to 3 and j goes from 2 to 4, nagpalit lang po natin ng ating mga dummy variables, the answer is 69. For the values included in the dataset. So notice po kung gaano po ka-different yung answer. So it really makes a difference to know the order of the summation index. So makes a difference to know the order of the variables in the formula of the term. Using the same data set, let's try to answer another question. So the question is, what equation represents the mean of the area surrounded by these dashed lines? And what equation represents the mean of the area surrounded by these dotted lines or dotted rectangle? So we are trying to get the equation that represents the mean. So there are actually 8 values in rows 1 to 2. So we have here row 1 and row 2. So rows 1 to 2 and columns 2 to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So since we are actually starting with the first row and the second row and the second column up to the fifth column rather, so we will be writing the equation using this one. So summation of xij, again, you could use any other letter aside from I and j, as I goes from 1 to 2 because we are referring to the row, and j goes from 2 to 5. So this is the equation for this data set. Hence, we are after of the mean. And to get the mean, we are going to divide the summation to the number of samples, counting from 1 to 8. That's why we need to divide it by 8. So this is actually the equation that represents the mean of the area surrounded by the dashed line. So another question is, what equation represents the mean of the area surrounded by this dotted line? So there are actually 6 values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 values from rows 4 up to 6 and columns 2 to 3. So the equation is summation of xij as j goes from 2 to 3 and I goes from 4 to 6. So the equation is summation of xij as I goes from 4 to 6 and j goes from 2 to 3. Over 6 because 6 is the number of sample or n, small n. So this is the answer for the equation that represents the mean of the area surrounded by the dotted lines. So as a summary, the equation that represents the mean of the area surrounded by the dashed line is summation of xij as I goes from 1 to 2 and j goes from 2 to 5 over 8 because there are actually 8 number of samples. And the equation that represents the dotted lines is summation of xij as j goes from 4, row 4 to row 6 and columns 2 to 3 over 6 because there are actually 6 number of samples. So that ends our problem set for data set number 1. Watch out for another problem set. We will be using data set number 2. So thank you so much and God bless.